random house today, man. Welcome to UCC. We are here with the Utah Cannabis Club.
Welcome.
Welcome, man. How you guys doing today? Yes. Hope you guys are doing well. This is Sep,
Wes,
Gabe,
and JJ.
Yes,
And
man.
we got Javi.
We got Javi in the background.
Come on now. Working the mics, man. We appreciate it, man. Welcome back to today's another episode with the boys on Utah Cannabis Club. Diving into culture, community, knowledge, and all things of cannabis, man. So,
no, I think you hit it right on the head, especially diving into the community aspect and how cannabis can help in numerous ways. And so
100%.
kind of giving some perspectives on the community here.
Yeah.
Why don't you, Gabe, open up a little bit about working in like the homeless shelter a little bit and
helping out the community.
That's been like here.
Yeah, for sure. So I've been very fortunate in the opportunity to be able to integrate myself a little bit more into the homeless culture that we have out here in Utah. As you guys know, it's a very hard state to be homeless. It's cold.
The cold, yeah.
It's really cold out here, and in the summers, it's really hot. So you
the
get
desert, the dry air.
Yeah, and there's a big exposure rate. So the homeless community really goes through it. And I personally am not rich. I don't know about you guys.
No.
Not me.
But I don't have a lot of money. So one way that I've been able to kind of reintegrate myself into the community is through volunteering time at the homeless shelter. I advocate for it extremely. It's a huge soul mender. But in my time being there, I get to kind of represent the cannabis culture while I'm there, talk to people and kind of integrate as much of the culture of cannabis, and that's love and community. That's one thing that cannabis culture is found upon, is love and community. So where I don't have a lot of money, it's one way that I've been able to kind of reintegrate myself into that aspect. You know what I mean?
100%.
Kind of give something, put something out there. You're like, I can't give money out there, so let me put my time out there.
Yeah.
And help out the people that need it.
Yeah, for sure. And like being in that environment, you are exposed to some of the hardest situations out there. There's a lot of mental elements that go into homelessness in general. So you deal with a lot of people that have extreme addiction issues, whether that be to opium or heroin, some form of narcotic, whether that be an upper or a downer.
A huge percentage. Right?
Yeah, huge percentage.
It either got them there or...
And the population just ranges too. Old, young.
Yeah.
And the war on drugs has affected them highly. And having to seek all types of other alternatives to ailments, right? To just alleviate whatever they're trying to go through, right? But if you can just provide.
You bring a crazy point, dude. We see like 14-year-old kids clear up until like 70, 80-year-old men and women. That's what's really sad about it, is these are elements that are universal. They're found upon the spectrum of the human race. It's not specific to an age group. It's not specific to a race.
Or a sex.
Nothing like that. It gets really, really hard when you start looking at the methods we use to rehabilitate the homeless. And you look at some of the methods that we use to mend their ailments, right? These are people that are looking for an external stimulation, and that's one thing that humans have done for thousands of years. China, clear back 5,000 years ago, found cannabis, and they started using it medicinally.
You didn't know that, now you know.
Vikings would consume mushrooms before going into battle. Like, how long have we been curating alcohol for? Thousands of years. Humans have always looked for a subjective state of mind, and it's one that's influenced by whatever external extremity that may be, whether it be mushrooms, alcohol. We've always sought an alternative mindset. To be able to utilize cannabis as an alternative method of consumption for a lot of people would be astronomical, for especially when you start getting into the I don't even like the term indica terminology, but indica variety. It's one that's universally known.
Right. Keep it simple. Nice.
The indica variety is being super sedative and mimicking some of those narcotic-like effects. I think could really benefit some of the homeless community. It's really interesting when you start looking at how we've utilized the plant in the past and how we've lost touch with that.
I mean, it's like you touch upon that, like we can go even deeper, right? Like people needing to cross state lines to use medical cannabis, right? And here we have in our own state certain marginalized communities that are inaccessible to that, in a sense that they now have to, like we spoke upon, having to touch on opioids, having to reach out to the other market per se to kind of keep afloat whatever they need, when in a sense, if we can create better cannabis initiatives and better social responsibility, we can better assist these communities. We can better create an environment for them to succeed and not just shun them away, as because they can be seen just as the same as prisoners, right? If we're going to talk about social responsibility, it's like freeing those that are in jail for like 40 years for an eighth in 1980, right?
Time out.
But that's just that's the flip side of the coin, right? Like if we're going to talk about like there's that social injustice that happens, right? Like if people get arrested, that's a lot of the homeless community that are getting caught up with something that they're just trying to get by through the day. And I can't speak for the homelessness, that's just my take on it and how I've seen things in the streets and from volunteering and stuff. But it does get complex. But if you can create better sentencing for cannabis, for instance, like why having to sentence someone for a possession, why not try to create a better reform where it might be a fine and then eventually a slap on the wrist, right? Like we can't eventually change it overnight, but those are the small things that we can do. And it starts with also creating better elected officials too, that can create better policies and regulations. So Gabe touched on a huge, as the homeless community. I mean, you got the Rio Grande, you've got certain communities in Glendale down to the Salt Lake region, from Rose Park all the way down to even West Valley, trying to find certain places for these communities to actually stay in. And if we can try to find a way, a shelter, and you got cities that are like, we don't want their mirrors, go away. And you're like, okay, can you help them at least, you know what I mean, on the way out, if you won't let them settle in the city. So it's just about assisting and using these cannabis tax dollars, you know what I mean? And by doing that, you can go to these businesses and helping them out.
Well, I think you lead into something really beautiful right there, Seb.
Sure.
The importance of having flame to flower and the importance of having home grow for the sustainability and the access for a variety of people that can't necessarily afford to be able to go into a pharmacy and purchase their own medicine, or to be able to go and purchase $100 vaporizer. We're very fortunate, and we can purchase vaporizers and we can smoke legally. We're extremely fortunate that way.
Dang.
And
flower.
Yeah, flame to flower is a really hot topic in Utah. It's a hard.
It is.
Knee slapper. Hot
crazy.
Topic, baby.
And I think we're one of a few states that doesn't allow. I don't know if other states allow flame to flower. I can't really speak about it, but a state that limits flame to flower yet doesn't have a limit on certain other things kind of still boggles my mind. And that's another topic to talk about on another day too, for sure. But I mean, we can still talk about it for sure.
Hey, I got one question. Javi, do you think that you could look something up for me real quick? How many states can use flame to flower compared, or how many states are
not allowed to use flame to
banned
flower?
Flame to flower?
Let's check it out.
Is it just Utah? Because we're wondering.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I feel like there's got to be a couple other states, right? It can't just be Utah.
Well, I know Florida Florida doesn't even have flower, right? Like they just have edibles. And
Well, they have flower.
okay, but it's just like
type,
CBD.
Type 2 and type 3 flowers. So
Okay, yeah, it's like THC.
Yeah.
18 states.
Got you.
It
Yeah.
says 18.
18 states.
18
have
states
voted for not flame to flowers.
have banned the sale of flame to flowers. So any state
Sale
that
of
you
flame to
Ban
flowers.
flower in general.
Ask it what states.
So they just banned flower.
Interesting. So it's a pretty universal thing. Well,
Well, not
no,
universal,
Not
but-
universal, but like commonly known.
Yeah.
I should have said.
And it's not even the majority, right?
I think it is.
So far, there's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 states that are CBD
Only.
accepting only.
Oh shit!
And
We get
there's
this
also
also.
and there's 1, 2, 3, 4 states that are still fully illegal.
So 7 only CBD states and 4 states that are still illegal, like fully. Gotcha.
Idaho's one of them.
Idaho,
What?
Idaho.
That's crazy.
Idaho,
Pennsylvania
Wyoming.
are not permitted. Pennsylvania. So it says right here that as of my last update on Chess, several states have implemented bans on sale or smokable cannabis flower for medical use. Florida, initially smokable medical cannabis was prohibited, but in 2019 the ban was lifted, allowing smokable forms. It says certain patients. Number 2, Louisiana. Let's see, was legal. Minnesota says is banned in Minnesota, even though it's illegal. Medical cannabis is legal. New York, medical cannabis is legal, but it says we're not permitted under New York and Pennsylvania.
But those states are still allowing vaping.
Yes,
Yeah,
they
so
allow
same as-
vape
so
cells.
same
all
as
the
Utah.
flames of
So,
flower.
so this it's actually quite common.
Crazy.
And a big
Okay.
part of that is just referencing like harm reduction. And that's the big thing about like
Yep.
vaporizing over
Smoking.
combustion, right? Is when you vaporize, you're not exposing your lungs to like the butane or whatever would come off a lighter, or even like a hemp wick, you could argue. But
Well, even if you're
At the end of
using
the
a herb
day-
iron, it's the carcinogens that they're worried about. The extra
When
carbon.
you're turning something to ash.
It's the carbon in your lungs. You know what I mean? So
Hey, don't forget about cigarettes, y'all.
Well, the thing,
they're still legal.
You know what I mean? They're still legal.
They're still
Vaporizing is
legal.
like, well, the thing with like
Yeah.
vaporizing is it provides like dosage, right? Whereas like if we're looking at it from a medical standpoint, it's always about dosage, right? A lot of people are like, oh gosh, if I hit a joint and I just took the biggest hit of my life, right? And it's like over. With vapes, you have temperature, you have certain pulls, you got what? Blinkers. You guys know what I'm talking about out there.
But you can
Yes.
smoke tobacco.
Right, but see, that's different, and then that's the thing though.
You can
Right,
smoke
right.
tobacco, but you can't
Just
smoke
in your
cannabis.
mouth.
What is that?
And it's crazy because that's the eyes of the state. You know what I mean? And they can try to ignore it, but it's like flame to flower still works efficiently in the end. You know what I'm saying? You can talk about terpene and flavor coming through vaporizer. You can talk about efficiency and other things. You know what I mean? You can talk about convenience and discretion, right? Reduce health risks, but it doesn't come with its
Caveats.
caveats. It's risks as well, you know. So, but yeah,
see.
man, you touch a huge point on that vaporizing.
Yeah.
Flame to flower is so huge,
it's
man.
a huge topic.
Because
and-
if you have the
and-
homeless,
what is the percentage?
Yeah.
Guys, let me ask you this. What is the percentage of cannabis users in Utah that are smoking cannabis and not vaping? It's got to be like 70% or more.
At the very least 70%.
At the very least 70.
Yeah, at very
So
least.
at least 70% of the people are breaking the law, and they're not trying to.
Unfortunately,
Yeah.
and that's what's sad about the way that the bills are structured right now, is that there are certain caveats to you being a medical consumer in Utah. You have to be sufficiently sustainable financially to buy not only the vaporizer but your product. Like our product here in Utah, to buy a distillate 1 gram cart with actual terpenes is right around $75 to $60.
You mean cannabis director?
Cannabis derived, single source, a true single source terpene. That's going to range about $60 to $75. that is a lot of money for what you are getting. If you look at other products, distillate is regarded as one of the least sought after or the least desirable because of the isolate format. And you have to reintegrate a terpene or some kind of flavonoid profile or minor cannabinoid profile, so it's not an isolate anymore. And if it's not super refined, you have a bunch of dead heads, and it's just dull flavored. And even at 97%, it's still going to be bland if you don't integrate anything into it, because it's pretty much a THC isolate. That's still being charged for top tier products, solventless, rosin, you know. That's where I feel like some of the discrepancy in Utah market specifically lies.
Yeah, and I think with that, a big part of it would probably go into the market itself here, and that would be like how many grow licenses, how many processing licenses. I mean, at the end of the day, I think competition is going to be what drives prices down and better quality out as far as medical or recreational state. Obviously, you're going to have companies that aren't going to push quality first by any means, and that's just going to be what you get no matter what, no matter where you go. But as far as like being able to drive the price down and actually get the price point where you need it and have access to a range of products, you definitely need to have more licenses and everything like that. And that goes into how much you could give back to the state. I mean, you allow all these licenses, all these other companies to come here to set up grows, to set up processings, to have different vapes and everything. You're going to get a lot more tax revenue and thrive that way as a state. And I mean, who doesn't want, in a sense, tax money? And like everybody wants tax money as an individual, a tax return.
For sure.
As the state, they want more
funneling
as
it.
getting taxed. And cannabis is something that
And
you have to give a lot.
Throw them what our tax percentage is. Do any of you boys know what it is right off top? I do.
Are we talking about sales tax?
Sales tax.
7.7.
7.7. But what is it taxed at in total for revenue? It's at 44%.
In the cannabis industry.
In the cannabis industry
That's
here in
federal
Utah.
as well.
Yeah. That's what we're getting taxed
By
at.
every
So at
state
the
is what
federal
you're getting
level and
federally.
everything, you have to pay 40% tax, and that's like up front pretty much. That's like you have to, obviously, to have the facility or your license. And
Right.
so that's a lot of money. I mean, 40%, and that's not including what you're getting from the 7.7 from all of the patients going in. So,
But you can imagine the equitable licensing that could happen through that, right? The fairness, the promotion of fairness, right? The entry for small businesses and entrepreneurs to enter the space, to give what they have to offer, right? How many tax-generated dollars in a sense of going to the correct and funneling the correct initiatives, regulations, and policies, electing the right board members, right? There's like a whole array of things, right? But it starts from that licensing, you know what I mean? The equitable licensing, making sure that there's fairness being promoted across the board. And that starts with the consumers, man. When we were talking about going in, buying those products, you know what I mean? Pressuring the bud tenders in the best way you can. Ask those questions. Force those bud tenders to ask more questions about the product themselves, right? So, education.
Talking to your elected officials.
Yes.
Making sure that you're staying in tune with what bills they're passing that are affecting the way that you're consuming your medicine.
And make sure they're staying in tune with what everybody's on and the culture and how important this is.
You want to see home grow? You want to be able to grow a beautiful plant in your home? Talk to your state official. That's how we advocate
Send
for
emails.
this. Yeah, send emails. Even send us an email and we'll send it in for you, you know? We'll do whatever it takes. We are trying to advocate for your guys' voice to be heard in any way, shape, and form.
Question. So, if the point of the medical program in Utah is to help the patients in Utah, then what is the reason for not allowing more licenses in the state if they know that it will drive down prices?
That's the same question we're all asking right now.
I think Seth hit it on the head, dog. We wonder too.
A big part of this whole wave with cannabis is just seeing where it's going.
We're asking
So
the
I
same
mean,
question.
it was
Why?
pretty obvious that Utah was going to start slow. I mean, going medical first, right?
Limited licenses.
Yeah, and then obviously like home grow and things getting scratched last second doesn't help with like the advocacy side and bringing light, I guess you could say, to the true side of cannabis. And so I'd say the biggest thing is on the state side, just starting slow and fixing the problems as you go rather than it just blowing up. Because I mean, you see New York and all the problems, and even like out of the country, you see a lot of problems with cannabis as far as like legalization, like in Thailand, like, oh yeah, like completely recreational, and then 6 months they're trying to like go back to medical and ban certain usage and forms, and it's like that just seems like a mess. And so I think on Utah's side it's more of just to kind of follow a slow procedure and not have like this big kind of catastrophe.
A slow leak and not a full flow.
Yeah, and
Even a leak.
you can't like
It's just
argue that that's
turn up the
100% wrong.
Yeah, trickle.
But there is a lot more to offer, and I mean, we all know that it would thrive no matter what, as
Right.
far as allowing more licenses and everything. And you allow flame to flower, you allow these things, and all these different SKUs come out. You have pre-rolls, you have all these avenues of income for all these different businesses, and I think that that's what would absolutely thrive the market and the community, is allowing more licenses, because
Well,
that's
imagine
what
like
we know would work.
Well, imagine like, you know, how the including job creations that could create. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Allowing more licenses for more businesses, for more accessible ways that these mom and pop shops can thrive in creating more jobs and generating more dollars, not even for themselves. When I say dollars, guys, I mean people putting food on their table. Okay, that's what I mean. It's not about making your pockets rich. Like,
Not about
you can't,
balling.
yeah, you can't do that in the cannabis world. I'm sorry, the plant won't let you. You can, but you know it'll take care of you. But it literally will take care of you back. But what I'm talking about is making sure that, dang man, I went short term there.
Hey, bro.
What was I on?
Making sure that the people are covered, dude. That you're doing things right. For
Yes.
the community.
Yeah, man, I freaking went blank there for a second.
You're going 100 miles an hour.
100 miles an hour. Where was I at?
Ladies and gentlemen, we are medicated. Indubitably.
What was I
good,
talking
though.
about? No, it was something that was. It was like.
So the
Oh,
side
and the
effects
economy
of
there.
marijuana.
Job creation. That's what it was. Because when we talk about jobs, you're generating for hydro stores, garden stores. You're talking about going to these stores that supply soils. You know what I mean? And you're kind of creating a new, I don't want to say sector, but can you imagine like Utah, right? Advocates for what? Supporting yourself, right? Having your own pantry, having your self-harm
canning.
concealed, right? Like, you know, so why not
Medicated.
in a sense of yes,
Grow,
you know what I mean?
self-support.
Self-support, self-advocacy, what was that word that you used? You used it, patient first, but it's basically putting yourself first, right? If you're gonna put yourself first in that aspect, why are we cutting both ends of not letting the consumer grow, flame to flower, advocating for themselves, shutting them out, shutting the small business out, cutting out, you know, making it expensive for a lot of people. Can't advertise, can't post it on the back of your car, right? Making it hard for her to talk, which is why we are here on Utah Cannabis Club. So, and that's one way that it could definitely help generate the economy. You know, another way is when these guys come out of jail, you know what I mean? They got a job to go to.
Yeah.
They can't find a job because trying to get their feet on the table, and they literally just served an eighth, and you're like, hey man, who knows what that can create for an economy that's coming forth.
I will
You know
say,
what I'm
to
saying?
touch on that too,
Definitely,
like that would
man.
really help with like,
Military,
the
that's
integration process
VA,
of
right?
like a convict or somebody in
Yeah.
jail get out, right? If they were able to be like, yo, I was locked up for X amount of
Cultivating
years, and be able
freaking
to
in
come
my
out to
house.
like a sustainable job and everything like that, and it's lined up,
Exactly.
and it's literally the work that they would probably want to do, because that's most of the grower stories.
Exactly.
And everybody that you know that
Getting
like,
caught up
I
for
know
self-supporting
that would like
themselves.
serve and has served for the plant. And so I think that would be huge, is getting them
Huge.
reintegrated back into a system and not have any like major hiccups that you see as far as that goes, because it can get ugly.
Right, it can. So
Rehabilitation.
for sure.
Yeah.
Kind
of makes a full circle to what we talked about at the beginning of the episode.
You don't want
the
them to go homelessness. There
Yeah.
you go.
Like it really
they could
does,
go. Come eat. There you go.
It really does go full circle in the true potential of cannabis. You know, whether you're Sep touched on it briefly, but like whether you're a VA just getting home from serving the country, whether you're a convict, whether you're a mother or a father that's struggling to find stability in being a parent, that's a real thing. It's a fucking hard thing to deal with. And each parent deserves to be able to hone themselves for half a second and not have to take a Xanax, not have to take a clonazepam, not have to take a Zolfrin. The list goes on, but finding a holistic way to heal. That's, I feel, the biggest message that this little segment could have is we are here to help you understand cannabis a little bit more. You know, and this is a huge
And the impacts it
avenue
can
of
have.
it. Yeah. And like community is one way that you can start integrating yourself into that, is supporting it, you know, talking about it with your neighbors, talking about it with your coworkers, you know, bringing it up and at homeless shelters, even starting to volunteer at.
Do you guys
know?
think that cannabis makes you more empathetic?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'd say
10,000%.
so, for sure. Well, like, let's not forget that cannabis is a female plant.
Oh yeah, she's a blessing.
So it invites that soft energy,
Yeah.
right? It's the mother. It's the
That is the
plant.
divine feminine, my dude.
So it invokes that emotion for sure. Always at the end of the day.
I agree.
Just gives you a little more time to care about people and think what they're going through is what they're going through, and you know, help them out where you can if you have the time.
Right, and Gabe comes back full circle, man, touching on all those. JG's just touching on all those. Social responsibility, right? Social injustice, helping out minority groups, marginalized groups that are affected by it, right? We don't want any parent to be affected by cannabis in a sense that they can't take care of their kids. All of a sudden, you got neighbors that are like, it's like, hey, chill out, as they have a 6-pack of beer inside their fridge.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying they shouldn't. I'm saying you smoke your beer, I smoke my joint. You sip your beer, I smoke my joint. So don't smoke your beer. That's kind of gross. But you get what I'm saying. It's the same thing, right? And it's kind of having that social responsibility at the end. You know what I mean? Helping each other out in this cannabis world. You know what I mean? Helping out local businesses, going to those local shops, right? And you kind of find this start looking at it in a different scope when it comes to cannabis and helping others. You know, those that are coming out of jail, homelessness, you're like, oh, wow. You know, how can we help these guys wean off this? You know what I mean? You realize that cannabis can be just grown. You know, some people grow for their PTSD. Some people grow for all sorts of things. It can be a hobby, teaching their kids, right? And UCC is here to just touch on so many of those other points and these topics and normalize, you know, the stigma behind it. And that's kind of one of like the things I'm like passionate to talk about with you guys a lot of the times, is that social responsibility. You know what I mean? Like Gabe talked about that beginning part with the homelessness, you know, it's huge, underlooked community, right?
And I know for you on that note, when it comes to like social responsibility, like a big part of it's dancing.
You
know,
yeah,
right?
man.
Like you literally go out there and you teach the community how to dance and everything
while being
and
medicated.
To be able to, while being medicated. And that's exactly how you recover.
Exactly.
And be able to perform up for the community the next day. You know what I mean? And so.
And to sleep because of that back pain, y'all. Just saying.
That back pain.
That back
dancing
pain,
does take a toll after so many years.
You know what I'm saying? Come on now. Yes, normalize it, man.
Hey, normalize it, dude.
Utah grown with that
Utah
hashtag.
grown. Hey, while we're in this little topic, huge shout out to Utah Grown. They've been showing us so much love lately.
Yeah, man.
they've been doing so much work in Utah
Education.
and
For the community.
for patients, getting them
Medical,
through the door.
yeah, getting
You know, if you're
cards.
looking for your medical card, go to
Affordable.
utahgrown.com.
Tax return
Check
season.
them out. $75 on average. Don't quote me, but I'm pretty sure that's the average is $75 for your medical card through Utah Grown.
15 states.
They get you licensed with a medical provider, a QMP, so you will have
And
everything
$15
you
state
need
fee.
within that small little love bundle from Utah Grown.
Yes, and when you go there for your appointment and you meet them, you can obviously ask them all the questions, and they'll help you and guide you through that process. And then there is a pharmacy right across the street that you can go to as well. So it's a really great, convenient location. So
Let them know UCC sent you.
Yeah,
shout
tell
us
them,
out.
Be like,
hey,
yo, how'd
tell
you
them
hear
we
about
sent
us? Be
some
like,
love.
Utah
Yeah.
Cannabis Club definitely mentioned you guys helping out, and we wanted to come check it out. So don't be afraid to, you know what I mean? Let them know. Show some love, man. Let them know we sent you down there.
Tell them I said hi.
Come on now. Yes, and that kind of brings it full circle back to the community, you know, educating you guys on helping these businesses. Utah Grown, right across the street, there's a pharmacy. Down the in another city, there's another pharmacy, right? Supporting these guys, keeping them alive,
All
keeping
local.
them medical. Yeah,
All
all
local.
local. You know what I'm saying?
These are not big
So,
corporations. These are
yeah.
local people here in Utah. You're not supporting Cure Leaf, not to talk bad. You're not supporting one of these big corporations.
And this is to help you stay out of that black market. You know what I mean? In a sense
Do it
of
legally.
going like legally. If you're afraid and there's better routes for you to ease that anxiety, you know, hop onto that open market, you know, kind of the legal market in a sense. And it's okay if you're still tapped into what you need to do. But we're here for UCC to help you. We appreciate you guys, you know what I mean? We're just touching on these topics because we love the cannabis culture and we love the people because that's what keeps it alive. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah.
I think that concludes it. I think that's it.
Yeah.
I think that's a
I
good
think
wrap,
that's
you
a
know?
good
That's a
wrap.
good wrap.
Thank you
boys.
guys for
Thank
tuning
you
in on
guys.
this episode.
Appreciate the
y'all.
love.
Yo, we appreciate you guys. Like we said, man, keep that social responsibility up. Do your job. Be a good consumer, good patient, good citizen, good person. Follow us on all our socials at what, JJ?
Utah.cannabis.club.
Come on now. You can find us on all social media platforms on...
Utah.cannabis.club.
Come on now. Yes, we're on Spotify, Twitter, YouTube. You know where we're at, man. Javi on the ones and twos. I'm Sep.
I'm Wes.
This is Gabe.
And this is JJ. UCC what it is.
Thanks
for tuning in.
We out.